G'day everyone, I am the man called Kemosabe, the man with a plan from the land down under, and here are 10 more top tips for writing fiction. These are more matters of taste and style than hard and fast rules, but they are things I always keep in mind as I write. As always, your mileage may vary, but I hope they help. Definitely one you should leave until the editing stage. It is something you can at least keep in mind as you're writing and maybe eliminate the worst offenders before they ever hit the page. You will find that, completely unintentionally, you use a word or several words much too frequently. It's a fallback, a crutch word. Using any phrase too often makes your work look amateurish, and you should try to eliminate them if possible. There's a great example on Twitter recently where somebody attempted to document the number of times the word chuckled was used in the Twilight novels. Legend says they're still highlighting to this day. I know I have a bad habit of using the same phrase or word, not too often, but very close to one another. In Born on the Bayou, the Saint-Denis Mysteries, Book 1, I used the phrase punched my ticket twice in 2 paragraphs. They both worked where they were, but not so close to each other. One of them had to go. A simple Control-F word finder is a quick way to zero in on the number of times you've used a word. Once you've found an offender, work your way through them in context and see if you can't find a better way to say it. Cancel culture is real. Call-out culture is often cancel culture masquerading as its allegedly less malevolent cousin. If you write something too spicy, they will come for you. People have been cancelled for the most innocuous of so-called crimes. There was that Chinese author who was literally cancelled for portraying an Asiatic culture as participating in a slave trade. In this day and age of sensitivity readers, critical race theory, and the all-powerful tyranny of the progressive stack, you'd think an Asian author would have the autonomy to write about a fictional Asian-presenting culture in a fantasy world, but the SJWs didn't see it that way and she lost a publishing deal. Writing the best story you can means they will inevitably come for you in some capacity. Prepare for it and remember, never apologise to these people. Never bend the knee. No one has avoided being cancelled by saying sorry. There is no act of contrition big enough to appease them, except maybe the one Alec Alalka made, and even then the people celebrating his death claim he had it coming. They are inhuman and evil. Be ready for them. Think about if the scene has a purpose in the plot. What's the point of showing this? Does it help the story along? Is it for commercial reasons? Is the story better for it? If not, skip it. Like anything, if the action you're detailing doesn't have a specific story purpose, if it doesn't advance either the story or the character in a new way, you're probably better off fading to black. Unless you're writing actual porn, in which case I don't think I have any advice that'll help you. I like it. The bluer the better, but I've heard many people say it reduced their enjoyment of a story, and I hear it more frequently, more often these days. Add to that a slew of curse words that are now problematic, and your options become much more limited. Or are they? How bad do you need that swearing in your story? Bad enough to lose the readers that really don't like it? Bad enough that it sets the whole tone of your story? This is a case of adhering to your vision versus maximising saleability. You've got shows like Sons of Anarchy about a criminal biker gang that steals, kills, extorts and tortures their enemies, and they never dropped the dreaded F-bomb. You've got a show like Bosch, following the careers of a few reasonably respectable LI homicide detectives, and they use the F-word like it was punctuation. Then you have Sex and the City, where 4 single urban ladies are always seeing you next Tuesday. I figure if somebody's offended by cursing, they probably won't like my books anyway, and those words add, in my mind, to the tone and enhances the era. On the other hand, my Western novels rarely have language worse than "you son of a bitch," but that's because I'm writing wholesome white hat versus black hat type fare, and I believe that audience doesn't want Deadwood level authenticity. It's something you have to decide early on. Once your characters go there, you can't unopen that box. Much like the last point, it turns some people off, and once included, can't be removed. Never before has racial elements in language been so divisive. Even if it's era appropriate, know that including these elements will make some people uncomfortable. Uncomfortable enough to stop reading your book? Maybe. I hesitate to tell anyone to hesitate to include anything in their story that makes it a better read, but even more so than cursing, this one thing, if present, will likely hinder your work. Even legit big-name authors cop flack over this. James Ellroy was criticised for his language being too authentic of the era. Apparently, it was problematic. The people who search for reasons to cancel others don't realise writing about something is not you supporting that thing. Writing about racial divisiveness doesn't mean you attend Klan meetings in your spare time, and writing about Muslim extremist suicide bombers doesn't mean you're Islamophobic. But they can't make that distinction, or maybe they don't want to. If they did, they'd have less targets for cancelling, and how else are they going to get their regular dopamine hits? I've talked before in other videos about speed bumps, little or unfortunately sometimes big things that jolt the reader from the smooth ride the story provides and makes them realise they are reading a book. You want to minimise this as much as possible. Every time they experience this, it takes them time to get back into that wonderful place where they forget where they end and the story begins. One of the most egregious offenders of this is poorly researched material. Anachronistic equipment, events, language, inauthentic dialogue and slang, overawed accents, and mixed-up timelines all contribute to speed bumps that can wrench a reader out of a narrative. Do it hard enough or enough times and they won't come back. I play war games, and there is a term in that community: button counters. The sort of people that will count the number of buttons on an inch-high lead figure to ensure it lines up with actual uniform regulations from the Napoleonic Wars. It's an exaggeration, but not by much. You'll find them in your reviews, one starring your book because you used the wrong caliber ammo in a certain gun, or the character's driving a model of car that wasn't manufactured until a year later than the book was set. Some of this can be mitigated by good research, diligent editors who check for consistency, or by using phrases vague enough that you can't get trapped in this mire. However you handle it, or it'll be a one-star review complaining that your MC used a clip instead of a magazine to reload his gun. There has been, in the last decade or so, a real epidemic of comic book creators calling readers all kinds of awful names, making unfounded accusations and topping it all off with demands that these people would not buy their book. A wiser man than me once noted that toothpaste companies still sell toothpaste to death row prisons. Even killers need to clean their teeth. You should be seeking to maximise your visibility so as to pump up sales as much as possible, but your book will not appeal to everyone. It's just not possible. Even Harry Potter and Maya Angelou have their detractors. Women apparently read more than men. Romance outsells other genres by an exponential factor. My books have a little romance in them, a little fade to black, but it's certainly not the focus, just enough to make sure nobody thinks the main character is a monk. I'm not trying to sell my book to the romance crowd. Genres exist for a reason. I'm happy for someone from the romance crowd to buy, read and enjoy my book, but I'm not counting on it. They aren't my target market. I'm not going to do anything to actively alienate them, but neither am I courting them. If I do that, if I weight romance, for example, more highly in the story, I risk alienating the people who buy my books for the violent action, the shit-talking, hard-drinking, door-kicking badasses I write. These comic creators forgot this and made all their books about diversity and social justice, alienating long-standing fans while failing to draw in enough new fans to replace them. In the nicest way possible, I guess I'm saying stay in your lane. You at least can work out what that is, and once you do, don't stray too far from it. I'm not saying don't mix genres or don't write in different genres. I'd be a hypocrite to advise that. But with everything I write, I'm working to build on an established audience rather than risking alienating them while searching for some imaginary romance readers who deep down want to read about a hard-drinking PI fighting secret societies and investigating murders in the deep south of the Louisiana swamps. I've spoken before about how your audience is probably smarter than you give them credit for. You don't have to be super explicit about everything. Less really is more, and some things are better off left unsaid. The mysterious and unknown are some of the best ammunition you have to build interest and intrigue. Don't waste your shot early on. Especially if you're writing or even planning a series, save some of that good stuff for later on. You'll be surprised how long an audience will hang on for the big reveal. Eric Larson made fans wait 20 years before he revealed the main character's origin. Roland Deschain's history wasn't revealed in the first or even the second Dark Tower book. It's been said that the monster behind the door isn't as scary as slowly moving towards that door and watching it creak open. What people imagine in their head, the nebulous, uncertain and unrefined notion, will inevitably be better, sexier, scarier, more terrifying and horrific than anything you can come up with. Aliens got less scary once we saw the creature. Wolverine is a worse character now that we know his name is James Howlett. The ordeal Ollie went through to get off the island in Arrow got to be so drawn out it was ridiculous, and undermined all sense of drama. In all of these examples, they probably should have kept some of the mystery under wraps indefinitely. Don't make the same mistake they did. There's no worse speed bump than spelling mistakes, poor grammar and punctuation. There are a bunch of spell check type options out there, but once I find something that works, I tend to stick with it. Grammarly is a good spell checker that works with most word processing apps and offers a few more options than your basic spell checkers in Word. I'm sure you've heard of it, they certainly advertise enough. I like that it gives you stats about your writing and a word count total from any given point. The real star for me, though, is the Hemingway app. If you don't know, it's a spell checker, sentence rater and tone monitor all in one. It color codes sentences in your writing and labels them as easy, hard or too difficult to read. It lets you know if the piece is too complex and gives a reading age needed to comprehend the writing submitted. Lower equals easier to access, and you should want your writing to be as accessible as possible. Grab a chapter and paste it in the window on the website and see what it says about your writing. It tells you how many adverbs you've included, the answer is always too many, and how many instances of passive voice are present, relative to the length of the piece. This app is a great way to get a snapshot of the readability and accessibility of your work and gives you direction when looking to make your writing leaner. I've heard the rule said that you should be looking to always drop your word count by 10%. Hemingway app is a place to start that process. There are going to be times where you're writing something and you're not sure it works. Some might say if in doubt, delete it and try again. I say if in doubt, test it out. The offending word, sentence or phrase might be close to right, close to good. No need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. To test it, read it out loud, act out your dialogue, ham it up, really chew the furniture. Chances are no one is around to watch anyway. Say it a bunch of different ways, use the phrase in different ways, inflect differently, think about all the ways it could be said in context. Try it with accents and different voices, loud, soft, raging, scared. Try it standing up. Act out what the character is doing when they say the line, see how it looks. Film yourself acting it out and see how it sounds. The same goes for made-up words and phrases, the names of fantasy worlds or alien species. Use the word in a range of contexts. Use the word until it doesn't sound strange to you anymore. Once it doesn't sound strange, you're ready to get to work and not be held back by it anymore. So that's 10 more top tips to keep in mind when writing fiction. I hope they help, and I hope they got you thinking about your writing. If you have any comments or questions, let me know below. Feel free to like and subscribe, and go give The Company Man Dead, White and Blue, my debut comic, a look. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you again on the next video. Take care and be safe.